All right, we're back. Talking about Jolteon now. If you have any questions at all about the evolution method and the quirkiness of the daytime-nighttime thing, or the ability choices, or anything like that at all, just watch the EV video. It's like 10 minutes. There's an EV there. It's lagging right now. Just watch the video. I promise. It's like 10 minutes. It's not that long for my standards. It's pretty short. So just check that one out if you have any questions about basic stuff. But these individual videos will be more covering the actual individual evolutions and how they function and their moves and all that stuff. So abilities, like I said for Vaporeon, I've given them all elemental abilities when possible. So no matter how well they like usually I really do consider how well the abilities interact with one another. But the evolutions, it's the fucking evolutions. Like they are the embodiments of their type, so they should, when applicable, have the abilities that are that typing. Period. They should just have it. So Electric Surge, Psychic Surge, Grassy Surge, Drought, Drizzle, Snow Warning, Dark Aura, Fairy Aura. That's all. That's 8 of them. And then you got Galvanize, Refrigerate, and Pixelate for 3 of them. So yeah, despite the fact that Electric Surge and Galvanize do not interact very well, Electric Surge is almost always better than Galvanize. It doesn't change the fact that I'm keeping both. So, and I will talk about that in a little bit. But Jolteon has the, I wouldn't say issue, but the interesting case. So I'll just say on paper, this thing is fucking strong, okay? It's one of the strongest in terms of raw output and speed, because it is by far the fastest of them all. And it has all of the evolutions max out at 115 special attack now, and they are all special attackers now, or at least specially biased, meaning if they're mixed, they still have a higher special attack stat. As a result, Jolteon has, Jolteon is actually one of the few mons in the entire hack, besides like maybe Mew, that has its stats completely untouched, completely, not even a slight tweak, which I thought was really funny. They're just perfect as is. I mean, the only thing I would maybe consider doing is like, I wanted to make Jolteon mixed, but actually this is the very time to talk about that. I wanted to make Jolteon mixed because it has these spikes, and it would be cool if it could use like spike moves and shit. But the issue with that is that there is a certain somebody named Pikachu and Raichu, and these two combined not outclass rather, but they overlap with Jolteon. In fact, Jolteon is actually faster than Raichu, and it has more special defense than Raichu, and then physically it's just as bulky. It has the same exact HP stat, so these two are extremely similar Pokemon in terms of function. The difference being move pool is a huge difference, and then their secondary ability. So Raichu is a mixed attacker, full-on fledged out mixed attacker. Pikachu is extremely powerful with Galvanize, and is also a mixed attacker. So Pikachu with Galvanize and Raichu with Electric Surge, they're all pure electric types. There's actually probably going to be one more, although maybe not with Electric Surge. I'm actually not positive. I can't remember off the top of my head. I could check my list, but it's not important. Point being, these two are really bad overlap. There's a couple others who like kind of overlap a little bit, or maybe Jolteon technically outclasses them as pure electric type, but not really because of other unique options that they have. These guys are no exception. These are probably some of the worst overlap in the hack, but it doesn't change the fact that I gave them things to be different. So not only are Galvanize and Electric Surge separate in terms of Pikachu and Raichu, but Jolteon is actually faster than both of them. 130 base speed versus 125 and 115, which is a big deal. Let me make sure I'm recording. Hold on. I'm so paranoid about that. I don't know why. Okay. So we're good. Another thing is move pool. Raichu has a much more diverse move pool. However, Raichu is also a mixed attacker, so that's why it has a lot of physical moves, which are really useful coverage. I mean, Jolteon has no such thing as fire or ice coverage or anything like that. But something that Jolteon has over Raichu, a couple of things. So, because I can go on for a long time about what Pikachu and Raichu have over Jolteon, because they have a lot. I'm not gonna lie, they do have a good amount, like Belly Drum and E-Speed on the Galvanized sets for Pikachu. Overall, Instinct is a really good ability, while Electric Surge, because Instinct actually boosts your stat by 50%, and you can control what you get the boost in. So Instinct is actually situationally much better than Electric Surge, or at the very least just as good. Electric Surge being much more consistent, but Instinct is excellent, especially if you can control what you get the boost in. Super powerful. Same boost as Electric Surge, just to all of your moves of that stat, meaning either attack or special attack. And of course, you get the water coverage, you got fairy coverage, all this great stuff. So on paper, yeah, Raichu is probably better, but the 5 base speed alone makes a big difference. The 20 extra special defense makes a big difference. And the fact that Jolteon actually has a couple other things over it. So not only does it have 5 more speed and 20 more spadef, but it has a couple of unique moves over it. One of them is huge, and I'll get into it at the end after this little rant. But what else it has over Raichu is it has Dazzling Gleam just like Raichu does. But actually, I don't remember if I gave Raichu Dazzling Gleam. I literally just showed it, but I'm too lazy to go back up and look at it. What it has over Raichu, meaning what it has that Raichu does not coverage-wise. It has special dark coverage, because Raichu has knockoff and other stuff physically, but it doesn't have Dark Pulse. So I gave Jolteon Dark Pulse. It kind of fits anyways. You know, he's kind of like the most, I guess, edgy looking of them all, so it fits. Nature Power is actually very useful, especially on Galvanized sets, because the Nature Power under Electric Terrain will turn into T-Bolt, so it's not really anything noteworthy. But what is noteworthy is the fact that it can turn into Energy Ball, Moonblast, and Psychic, depending on the terrain as well, and also other random shit. But those ones are a lot harder to control. You would probably only use those if you know that you're fighting in a certain terrain, like on the water or whatever. But in terms of control, you can really control to get Moonblast and Energy Ball and all that stuff. So that's really nice. Let me take a sip of water. Hold on. Sorry. Excuse me. So not only does it have Dark Pulse, but it also has Shadow Ball. And lastly, Sludge Bomb and Toxic Spikes. So those three are pretty great coverage, especially Sludge Bomb, because it hits like grass and stuff, which obviously Raichu has, like, you know, you already have Signal Beam on both of them, but you know, it's still nice. And also Sludge Bomb is powerful. It's 95 base power. So Sludge Bomb is a little bit of a reach, but I think it works fine. The main reason being it has like these spikes. So this is a logical process, right? I need to give this thing things that helps it not be too close or similar to Raichu. What can I do? I consider Spiky Shield, but it was kind of useless, so I didn't even bother throwing it on there because like it's kind of weird, anyways. So yeah, and it wouldn't. You don't really teach Spiky Shield on it. It's not really worth it. Toxic Spikes, number one, because of like these things talking about spike, you know, sharp needles and spikes, and it's and it even gets Pin Missile by level up. So I was like, you know what? Toxic Spikes isn't the weirdest thing. I see it. So I gave him Toxic Spikes by level up. Sorry, by TM, which is really useful. That's genuinely useful over Raichu. Otherwise, it has, like I said, Shadow Ball and Dark Pulse, which is both 85 base power, useful coverage, and then Sludge Bomb was the logic. So basically my logic was, well, if I gave him Toxic Spikes, I may as well give him Sludge Bomb, you know, so that's what I did. So that's the advantages. And the biggest one by far, so like I said, not only do you have 20 more special defense and 5 more speed than Raichu, but you also have Electro fucking Outburst, and that is an absurdly powerful nuke. Under Electric Terrain with specs, this is like so strong. It's not even funny. Because at -4 special attack on the second use, that's not even that bad. Like it's -4 special attack is a 2/3 drop, so you're doing 1/3 of your original damage, which is 60. You know, 1/3 of 180 is 60. So you add that together, you're still getting an average of 120 base power with no drawbacks, no recoil, no accuracy, nothing. Just flat 120 twice in a row. The only main downside being number one, it's level 70, so you're literally only having that for the league and like a couple other random battles, and then force game. But also, yeah, 3 PP, so that's not as good as 5, which can be maxed out to 8. But like I said, it's fucking strong, dude. It is powerful. So that is something that alone makes me confident that this is not better or worse than Raichu now, because Raichu has much more versatility. Raichu is mixed. Raichu has instinct, all this fun stuff, much more coverage. But Jolteon has some coverage that Raichu doesn't, and Jolteon has more speed, more special defense, and Electro Outburst. So I am confident now that these two are distinguished enough. They're still very similar, but they are distinguished enough. And as for Galvanize, it's just a logical thing. Like, I didn't want to give Pixelate and Refrigerate and then not give Jolteon Galvanize, you know? Like, that just feels anti-logic. Like, come on, dude, he needs Galvanize. It's fucking Jolteon. They should have the elemental abilities when applicable. So even though, sorry, I have to scroll all the way back because I'm too lazy to search it up. Despite being worse than Electric Surge in most cases, it's actually not always worse. I will actually talk about the niche situations because it's ability capsules, so you can just turn those on and off. So say you're already running a terrain team, but you have a Jolteon on your team and you're doing a team lock, nuzlocke, and you want to use terrain for something else. Well, then just give it Galvanize, you know. And also Galvanize, I actually gave it Commotion at level 30. So for the most part, your Galvanize is not even coming close to being as strong as Electric Surge. So for example, I will give an example. Let's say by the time you get the Hyper Beam TM, you are level 55, right? So Zap Cannon isn't until 65. So if you get Hyper Beam TM at 55, Hyper Beam is 150 times 1.2, right? Because of 20% boost. I'm not going to even factor in stab because stab applies to both Electric Surge and Galvanize. So this is Hyper Beam, damage without stabbing included. Sorry, Hyper Beam is 160 base power now. Another thing is, if I'm going to briefly just touch on this, if you guys don't know by now, Hyper Beam is like Psycho Boost. So all of these types of moves, Hyper Beam, Guga Impact, Zap Cannon, all these types of moves drop your offensive stat by 2 after you use them. So, which is a really awesome change in my opinion. Makes them actually really good moves. So you know, they work like Draco Meteor and Cycle Boost and shit. Either way, this is 192, right? And then you've got Zap Cannon, which is 150 base power, because Hyper Beam and Giga Impact are 160. The rest of them are all 150. So you got Zap Cannon, which is 1.5. I mean, you can see this is a pretty significant, like if you do minus 192, I could do the mental math, but I'm lazy. 33 base power difference. However, if you get Hyper Beam even like 8 levels earlier, then you get Zap Cannon, then that's already an upgrade. So Galvanize genuinely does outdamage Electric Surge in terms of when you get the normal type moves versus when you get the electric type moves. And also, some of the normal type moves have effects that the electric type moves do not. So for example, Commotion is 85 base power. So Commotion is outdamaged heavily by Electric Surge Thunderbolt, which you should have around the same time you evolve, maybe a little bit later. I believe even Parabolic Charge, which is 78 times 1.5. Yeah, even Electric Surge boosted Parabolic Charge is stronger than Commotion, but what Commotion has that it's unique is that it always confuses. So that is something, it's annoying as fuck and it's not reliable, but it's there. So that's useful to have. You have Electro Ball and Hyperspeed and Baton Pass, which you could do, although again, like I said, I nerfed Speed Pass, so Baton Pass is like Teleport now, so it's minus priority, so you can't Baton Pass Speed Pass as easily, but it's useful as a pivot, so not on Jolteon though, obviously, you're not bulky enough to be a pivot, or at least a slow pivot, like a bulky pivot. Obviously, you can always pivot out with Parting Shot at Volt Switch or U-turn, so. Why the fuck is she FaceTime at me? What the fuck is she calling me for? Hold on, y'all. Sister just called me. What the hell does she want? She never calls me. Hold on, guys. Sorry, 2 seconds. Text them, tell them I'm busy. All right, I'm gonna answer that after this video because she's talking about some plans or something. Anyways, so yeah, like I was saying, Electric Surge outdamages Galvanize early on, but then later it actually doesn't anymore. At least there will be a brief period where Galvanize does actually genuinely outdamage. Also, Electric Surge disables sleep, and that might be bad for your team because maybe you want sleep for a strategy, and so you can just give your Jolteon Galvanize. You're not really listening on that much power, at least depending on what point in the game you're in. You also have like Synchro Noise, which is kind of shit because like turning into electric type means that you're going to be hitting things that resist it, so it's not that great, but it's good because it gives you +1 special attack after each time you use it. So you could use it on electric type Mon and get special attack boost with Galvanize, and then yeah, it's niche as fuck, but it's there. Yeah, not too much else to cover. I mean, Hyper Voice is strong, it becomes 114 base power, and it also bypasses Substitute, so while Thunderbolt was not. So yeah, there are definitely niche situations where Galvanize is good. I believe it's more useful when you're using it to not hinder your own team, like with, you know, sleep strategies and all that stuff, or it's useful for Hyper Beam, because you get Hyper Beam before you get Zap Cannon. But man, Zap Cannon is fucking strong as well with Electric Surge, and then Electro Outburst is like, don't even get me started on that. So, yeah, that's about it. Otherwise, I mean, you have like the same regular shit. You got Flash Cannon for coverage that Raichu gets, all the stuff Raichu has though, but it's useful coverage nonetheless. You know, Signal Beam is good, 80 base power, Flash Cannon is 110 base power, etc. Oof, that was a nasty burp. I'm sorry, y'all. Oof. Excuse me. Dancing Gleam is nice, and then Weather Ball is useful. Nasty Plot is huge, huge. I mean, dude, 130 speed, 110 special attack, +2 special attack, and 1 move. I mean, it's strong with Electric Surge, man. It is a powerful Pokemon. So I wouldn't say it's even close to the worst of the evolutions. None of them are bad. They're all great now, but it's definitely the most boring in my opinion, just because of how similar it is to Pokemon that I personally like more. I'm just not a fan of the evolutions, y'all. I'm not gonna lie, they're kind of just boring to me, the evolutions, but that's my personal opinion. So yeah, I know people fucking love these guys to death. So, oh, another thing it has over Pikachu and Raichu is Snore with Galvanize is actually genuinely viable. What you can do is either go into the battle already asleep. For example, you can use Rest against a wild Pokemon, then go into the battle already asleep, which is like cheating, but I won't tell anybody, I promise. Or you can literally just use Rest mid-battle, which is harder to pull off because you're frail, but it's useful. And that actually always flinches now. So with Rest, you're only getting 2 turns in a row, but most ones that I give this are not. It's not really that strong. But since it's free tutorable, it's actually really useful to have. You also have other stuff that comes from EV, such as Swift and Harmonize. Harmonize with Galvanize is useful because it's 72 base power and it always drops special attack, but Swift is useless mostly outside of like not having Electric Surge active with the sleep strategies and shit. But Shockwave is literally reteachable, and stronger in Electric Surge, and was also plus 2 priority if it was 55 base power. So that's about it for Jolteon. Like I said, I hope that covers the overlap up. I really explained it well. Hopefully they hit hopefully they hit it home for you guys. I had to go talk to my sister really quick, so I will be taking a brief break between recording. But hopefully I get these done by tonight, because I really am. I'm kind of tired of doing these. I've been doing them for like way too long because it just takes so long to do them all, and I don't really like the evolutions. But that doesn't mean that I was lazy with them. Far from it. I actually thought about their stats and I've talked it out for a really long time, like balancing wise and also soul wise, because I know that people really like these mons. So if I gave them like weird shit that people don't like, then that could be controversial. So yeah, Jolteon is very self-explanatory. So thanks for listening.